Hey, Professor Yerby here again. In this video, we're going to talk about the what and the why of wireless. We're not going to get to the how in this video. So let's go ahead and start figuring out what is wireless and who doesn't use wireless. So typically, if I was in a classroom, I would ask you, who in here does not use wireless? And then two people would raise their hands, and then the rest of us would say, you're wrong, you use it somehow or another. And so I've got several examples here of different ways that you use wireless that you may or may not be aware of. So data, networking, of course, when you're using your cell phone, your TV is using some sort of wireless, even if it's an older TV that used just the antenna. We still use antennas. It's just they're digital antennas now. It used to be an analog signal. Now we are using a digital signal. You have to have the hardware to be able to receive that. Radio, again, we have FM radio, frequency modulation, and AM radio, amplitude modulation. And we'll talk about that in some future videos. Remote start, remote lock, all those different apps that you have for all of your different smart cars. I really like this to be able to, if I leave my vehicle somewhere parked while I go away on travel, to be able to make sure that it's locked. And if I use OnStar, I can see the location of the vehicle. I can look at the diagnostics to see if someone's been driving the vehicle, different things like that. Public services. So when we talk about public services, a lot of times we're talking about our first responders, our police officers, our EMTs, firefighters, those types of people. They use several different types of wireless technology. If you have the chance to encounter a police officer, hopefully in a positive fashion, just look at all the different equipment that they'll have all over their vest and in their ear and on their car that's using all sorts of different communications. It's really interesting. I think this says temperature right here. So there's wireless temperature sensors, temperature, things like that. Bluetooth controls. So Bluetooth is one of those technologies that has just really been successful, and you just keep seeing it more and more places. RFID. We don't have NFC on this page, but I'd also put that in here. Satellite, radios, phones. I think they said GPS. So there's lots of different ways that we use wireless. Okay, and then we have three major forms of wireless. Let's see if I have what they are here. So we have Wi-Fi. So when we talk about Wi-Fi, I need to update my slide here to include a newer standard that is being rapidly adopted. These are the different 802.11 standards that I will expect you to know from this course. So what I want you to do when you're watching this video is go ahead and take some notes, and then know that you need to figure out what 802.11a, b, d, g, h, i, k, n, r, y, and s. Some of those are similar, like A, B, G, N. Those are all standards for consumer equipment. Those are all protocol, not protocols, but just standards that were ratified by IEEE. And then the newest one that I need to add to this slide is the 802.11ac. So that's the one that is comes after N. Then we have cellular. So we have 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and if you go out there and play around on Google, you can Google 5G. 5G is kind of just a conceptual framework at this point. There is no real 5G, and we'll talk about 4G a few times throughout the semester, and I contend that there is no real 4G. If you look at the standards for what the 4G network was supposed to be for cellular communication, there's no provider out there, Verizon down to Sprint to Boost Mobile to AT&T or any of them that are doing true 4G in the United States. Talk about GSM a little bit and CDMA. Those are just different wireless technologies. And then the last major form of wireless that is all but dead at this point is WiMAX. WiMAX was the worldwide interoperability for microwave access. So what this did is it provided a type of wireless communication through long distances, and it's supposed to be relatively quick speeds. And it's just really been replaced with 4G at this point because the cost to set up the infrastructure for a WiMAX network was too costly, and the subscriber base was too small, and the areas of service were too small. So in Georgia, before WiMAX really started being more and more on the decline, the only real areas that you could get it were in Atlanta and in Milledgeville. So I'm not sure if they're still around. The company that was doing it in those areas was a company called Clear, and Clear was partially owned or a part of Sprint. So I'm a Sprint stock owner, and boy, that stock, as of the time of recording this video, is done terrible for me. So other forms of wireless, we have radio, so sound, telephony, video, GPS, radar, data, radio control, ham radio, satellite radio, citizens band. So some of these you may be looking at and you think that, wow, this is some really old stuff. Why do I care about any of this? Well, something like this citizen band, as you probably may have heard of, depending on your age, as a CB radio. So if you're watching Dukes of Hazzard and Little Bo Peep, the Lost Sheep, they're using that CB radio. But the reason that can still be important in today's environment is that when there were mass unrest over in Egypt, and the government owns all of the communications for all of your internet and things like that, they can monitor it or just turn it off, as they did in Egypt a couple years ago. CB radio was still a viable means to communicate and share information to rally demonstrations, rally relief. So some of these things that seem old or unuseful to us here, wherever you're located at watching this video, could be useful somewhere else. Bluetooth, we talked about that. Infrared, so infrared. I wish I had a remote control in my hand. I could show you a neat little trick when you're recording a video and you press the button at a camera. You can actually see the infrared light up. You can't see it if you're looking at it with just your naked eye, though. Any others? I think I have some here. So medical equipment, networking, gaming, schoolwork, VPN. So what do you do with wireless? So this will be something that I'll ask you guys to comment on in the discussion board. I'll ask you to comment on what do you do with wireless, and that's it, yeah. And then here are some statistics about WiMAX. So the standard, you remember our Wi-Fi is 802.11. The standard for WiMAX is 802.16. The speeds were 1.5 megabits per second down, 500 kilobits per second up. The range was 30 miles. And then if we compare that with, I'm trying to remember what this is. So we have our 802.11n over here, distance of 300 feet, and then 802.11g. Here's our speed, 100 megabits and 5 megabits. So, it was an okay technology, but it really just can't compete. And then again, the The one that follows 802.11n is 802.11ac, and so we'll need to find some more information on that one. So we get to the why portion of wireless. So why would we bother using wireless? You probably see me kind of looking around here. I'm looking at all these wires running across my desk. I've got this. I can't even pick this up because it's got a wire on it. Now I'm going all over. So the main reasons to bother with making something wireless is convenience, efficiencies. If something can be faster or better, or if you can find cost savings. The beginning of wireless, if you would read why not wireless, and we'll talk about that in a second, cost was always a big issue. Wireless used to be very expensive. Sometimes new capabilities using wireless, but really that first one, that convenience, is so big. Aesthetics, so hopefully you know what that word means, makes it look pretty, right? So especially if you look at your home entertainment system and you have a bunch of wires running all over the place, it's not so pretty. So one area that we still have a huge way to go is doing wireless power or wiretricity. We'll talk about that later in the semester as well. Think of the cool possibilities of that. Top industries that use wireless are education, manufacturing, government, wholesale, financial, transportation, hospitality, healthcare, retail, professional services, technical services, and all of these. Reasons not to use wireless when you have extreme security concerns. So you'll see there's plenty of areas with our military that they won't allow wireless devices within a certain range of the area. They'll have all sorts of technologies or building materials to block any sort of wireless signals. High amounts of interference in an environment. So in some industrial environments, trying to run wireless equipment is just not possible because of all the different machinery or the walls in the way or just whatever's going on. Other types of technology that may interfere with the signal. When you're transferring large amounts of very large files, wireless would not probably be your ideal choice. You probably want to look at doing a wired solution, maybe something like fiber. Extremely cost prohibitive and extremely delicate medical device. And then here's the other question that I want you to answer in the discussion is what will wireless look like in the next year, and again, why will you use it? And then we'll also say what will it look like in the next 10 years. So that is our lecture video for this first week, and you'll have some discussions and the assignment, and week 1 is well underway. Thanks.